Hey guys, it's Miss Johnson here, and I am here to bring you our first notes for Unit 1, Unit 1 Learning Target 1 Notes video. Today we are talking about simplifying algebraic expressions. So, a reminder of our order of operations. You probably learned something along the lines of PEMDAS back in middle school. 6th grade even, maybe 7th grade, definitely talked about it in 8th grade, I'm sure. PEMDAS is an acronym that gives us our order of operations. Some people remember it as please excuse my dear Aunt Sally. Some people remember it as pretty eyes make dudes act silly. There's a lot of different acronyms that can help you remember the order of operations and how they go here. But what PEMDAS stands for is parentheses, exponents, multiplication and division, and addition and subtraction. So that's the order in which we want to simplify things. One thing that this box is showing us over here is that the multiplication and division go together. So it says whichever one comes first from left to right. Sometimes that means you'll be doing some division before you'll be doing multiplication. That also, the same is true for addition and subtraction. Addition and subtraction go together from left and right. So sometimes that means you'll be subtracting before you add. You just have to go from left to right in the expression, just like we read a book. So really there are 4 different steps here in our order of operations. The other thing I want to point out is that this first one says parentheses. There's a lot of different ways to show grouping of symbols. It could be parentheses, it could be brackets, it could be braces. Even absolute value bars are considered grouping symbols. Even the fraction bar is considered a grouping symbol because it separates what's on the top from what's on the bottom. So all of those things are different ways of grouping parts of an expression. So let's just go through and do some examples here. In example 1, I have the expression 2 to the third plus the quantity of 31 minus 9. When I say the quantity of, I mean that part of it is grouped together. So if I think about my order of operations, my first thing that I would do is look for any grouping symbols. And in this case, I have a grouping symbol right here. If you didn't have your calculator out before, now is a good time to grab it. I'm going to go ahead and grab mine too because I didn't have mine out either. So I've got my calculator out now, and that will help me get through all of this. So I'm going to take 31 minus 9 because that's the first thing in my grouping symbol. So this thing right here gives me 22. Now, once you have taken care of the grouping symbols, you can go ahead and eliminate them. You can see that my 31 minus 9, when I turn that into 22, I don't have any parentheses around that anymore because there's no operations left inside the grouping symbols. Okay, then the next thing that I would do is I lost my train of thought, exponents here. I see that I have 2 to the third power. This 2 to the third power is really the same thing as 2 times itself 3 times. So 2 to the third power, 2 is my base, 3 just tells you how many times it's being multiplied. So 2 times 2 times 2 is what I have there. And if I type that into my calculator, I get 8. Then the next thing I would look for is any multiplication or division, which I don't have any. And the last thing I would look for is any addition or subtraction, which I do have addition. So I'll go ahead and fix my addition there. 8 plus 22 gives me 30. One other thing that I want to point out on your calculator, this little guy right here. So the 2 to the third, if you're looking on your calculator, and most of you have a TI-30, one of the little scientific ones, up in the corner it says TI-30, and then it might have some other letters like the X2S that just tells you the version of calculator that it is. But most of you have that calculator. On your calculator, if you wanted to type in 2 to the third power, you can also use that caret key. So type your base of 2. The caret key is what gives you an exponent. And then type your exponent of 3 and then hit your equal sign. Okay? So these are like your calculator keystrokes for 2 to the third power. That caret key is the exponent key. On the calculators that most of you are looking at, the caret key is over on the left-hand side. It's about the 5th button down. All right, so let's take a look at number 2. In number 2, I have 16 divided by 4 times 2 plus 13. So again, I need to go through my order of operations. Please excuse my dear Aunt Sally so I don't see any grouping symbols. Oh, excuse me, I'm yawning. I don't see any grouping symbols here. The next thing I would look for is any exponents, and I don't see any exponents either. So now I'm going to go ahead and take care of multiplication and division. So here is where I have some division. Remember that fraction bar means divide. If that's a note you need to write down, go ahead. Okay, so the fraction bar means that we need to divide. So then I'm going to take 16 divided by 4, and then I have it multiplied by 2. But the division comes first. If I'm reading this like a book, I need to do the division first. So that's what I'm going to take care of first. 16 divided by 4 is 4. So I have 4 times 2 plus 13. Then I would go ahead and take care of the 4 times 2, which is 8. And then I would go ahead and put my addition together. 8 plus 13 gives me 21. So my answer there is 21. Let's take a look at number 3. In number 3, I'm thrown in some absolute value bars right there. Those bars that are straight up and down are called absolute value. What that means is we want the distance from 0. So I need to evaluate what's inside of it first, and then I need to figure out what the distance is from 0 there. So 7 minus 9 is going to be the first thing that I tackle because, again, it's inside those grouping symbols. 7 minus 9 is negative 2. So I actually end up with the absolute value of negative 2 plus 4 on the outside. Now, this absolute value piece, I have to actually do something with that. Absolute value is like an operation. I'm asked, what is the distance of negative 2 from 0? Well, negative 2 is 2 units from 0. So I know that my distance from 0 is 2. I can get rid of the absolute value bars now because I'm done with them. And then all I'm left with is 2 plus 4, which we all know is 6. All right, we're going to take a look at number 4 now, and we are going to see if we can simplify this expression down to one value. So in number 4, I have the quantity 13 minus 4 on top of a fraction bar divided by a group of terms in the bottom, 18 minus 4 squared plus 1. So I need to, first of all, treat this fraction bar as a grouping symbol. It is separating out my top from my bottom. So I have to treat the bottom separate from the top. The first thing that I'm going to do is take care of that top. I have 13 minus 4 there. 13 minus 4 gives me 9. So I end up with 9 divided by still that whole expression on the bottom that we haven't touched yet. 18 minus 4 squared plus 1. Now, there's nothing else that I can do up on the top with the 13 minus 4, so I'm going to go ahead and take a look at the bottom. In the bottom, I have a bunch of things going on here. I have 18 subtracting 4 squared and then adding 1. The first thing that I need to take care of in that bottom is that 4 squared. So I'm going to end up with, I still have the 9 on top. That 9 on top is still there. I'm going to have 18 minus 16 plus 1. 4 squared is 16. And again, 4 squared is the same thing as 4 times itself 2 times. So 4 times 4 gives me 16. Or on your calculator, you can do 4 and then that caret key with the 2 button, and you'll get 16. So now in the denominator, I have the 18 minus 16 plus 1. I need to take care of the 18 minus 16. So that's going to be 9 all over 2 plus 1. And then I can go ahead and add the 2 plus the 1, 9 divided by 3, which gives me an answer of 3. So this whole expression simplified down to just the number 3. Okay, a couple more here. We're going to take a look at number 5. It says evaluate the following expressions if x is equal to 3, w is equal to negative 2, and z is equal to 0. So now I have some substitution going on here. When I have a variable and I know what that value is, I can go ahead and substitute that variable out. So in number 5, I'm gonna do that. I have the quantity of 4 plus x. I'm gonna go ahead and take that 3 and plug it in for my x. So I've got 4 plus 3. It's written inside parentheses, but there's nothing actually outside of the parentheses, so I don't even need to worry about those parentheses anymore. All I have here is 4 plus 3, which is 7. Okay. If I take a look at number 6, I have x times z plus 12. Now, if you think back to middle school when you guys talked about multiplication, multiplication can be implied. When you have no symbol or operation between two variables, that means they're being multiplied together. So that's x times z. So now let's plug in our values. I have the 3 times the 0 plus 12. If I take care of that 3 times 0, that just gives me 0. 0 plus 12 just gives me 12, and that's my expression. All right, last two here. We're going to look at number 7, 2w squared minus x. So again, I need to take that w and plug it in for the w there, and I need to take that x equaling 3 and plug it in for the x there. My w is a -2, so I'm going to make sure that I put parentheses around it, and it looks like this, 2 times parentheses -2, that's quantity squared, minus 3. So my -2 went in for the w, and my 3 went in for the x. So then the next thing I would do is I look for my grouping symbols. I have a grouping symbol of this -2, and that -2 is being raised to an exponent. There's nothing inside the grouping symbols that is an operation that I have to take care of. But I do need to factor in that exponent, which would be my next order of operation, parentheses, exponents. So I'm going to take care of that. Now, I want you to be very, very careful on your calculator. I'm going to come over here for just a second and write some calculator tips out. So on your calculator, when you type in -2, when you type in a negative number and you're squaring it or raising it to a power, you absolutely have to put in parentheses the base. So I need to take that base of -2 and I need to put it in parentheses and then type my caret key and then the power of 2. And then you're going to see that it's an answer of 4. We all know that a negative times a negative is 4, is a positive. We know that a negative times a negative number gives me a positive number. The problem is if you don't tell your calculator that this negative and this 2 are grouped together, if you just typed it in like this, -2 quantity squared, and you can even go ahead and try this on your calculator right now. If I type it in without parentheses, what your calculator is going to do is take 2 raised to the second power and then multiply it by a -1. That's what it's going to do, because your calculator knows to do exponents first and then multiplication after. So if you don't tell your calculator that these two things are one entity, I have to keep the negative and the 2 grouped together. If you don't tell your calculator that, you're going to get an answer of -4, which is not true. We know that -2 times -2 is +4. I need a +4 there. Okay, so let's go back over here. I now know that -2 squared is going to be +4. So I have 2 times 4 minus 3. Then the next thing I would do is multiply the 2 times the 4, which gives me 8. And then I can go ahead and take 8 minus 3, and 8 minus 3 gives me 5. Okay, remember that you can go ahead and back up the video if you need to, but I am going to go ahead and erase this calculator stuff so we can take care of number 8 over here. But again, remember you can back up the video if you need to go back and look at those calculator tips again. All right, so let's take a look at number 8, our last one here. So I have a z that I need to substitute a value and an x that I need to substitute a value for. So when I go ahead and substitute those in, they look like this. I have a 12 minus 0, because z is 0, over 2 times my x, which is 3. All right, so let's go ahead and simplify that. Now remember, fraction bar separates top from bottom, so I need to do the top separate from the bottom and then put the two together. The very last thing that you will do is the actual division of the fraction bar. So the first thing I'm going to take care of is 12 minus 0, which is an easy thing to take care of because it's just 12. Now, in the denominator, I can go ahead and take care of 2 times 3, which is 6. Now, the very last thing that I'll do is put the two together and take care of that division. 12 divided by 6 is equal to 2. So I end up with an expression of 2 there, or an answer of 2 there. All right, so thanks for listening to our first lesson video for Unit 1, Notes 1. Go ahead and work on your practice assignment, and I will catch you next time.